Queensland are at a crossroads, Hoops. Do they need a new coach, a new captain? Is Daly Cherry Evans, is his leadership the one that Maroons need to lead them out of what has been an historical flogging?
Well, listening to Cooper Cronk after the game on Sunday evening, I thought his assessment was cutting, but it was absolutely spot on. And the Maroons, where they're at the moment, they're going to have to make some form of changes, because if they keep doing the same thing, then sadly it's just going to be a similar result. Daly's numbers don't read great for this series. He's had 0 try assists, 0 line break assists in 160 minutes of football. In the opening game, the Blues had 10 line breaks, the Maroons had 1. It wasn't as pear-shaped in Origin 2, but it still ended up 6-2 in those areas. So I think they've got to go in a different direction.
The thing is about it, Cameron Munster's comments at half-time about the confusion and not getting to the
I like that though, Paul. That was just honest.
I'm not complaining about that, James.
I like it when you call it, James.
No, what I'm saying, that was telling on the... That was a condemnation, I think, of Cleary as the playmaker. That's what I think that was. Second, though, and this is where Queensland are at their best, when they have a come-on, not go-on captain. And Daly hasn't played that way as the Queensland captain. They need someone who's just got to put the ball under the arm and just say, come on, let's go, follow me. And he hasn't played that way. Like, he's got it in him, but we're not seeing it out of him. And Queensland are at their best when their captain is that type of player.
The sets were so passive.
Yeah, I think what you pointed to earlier in the week, Von, was what Cherry Evans said after the game. This is Ben Hunt as well.
This is Ben Hunt addressing the playing group. Daly's there, but this is Ben.
That Daly in the post-match press conference said that maybe New South Wales were more motivated because they lost the series last year. I think that language probably would have made a lot of the legends of Maroons, their skin crawl.
They fell off their chairs, Lara, when they heard that. They thought, what's going on with our team?
Yeah. But the fact that the game plan was mentioned by Munster, like the way they were playing, their styles.
Is Munster the man you build this team around?
Well, I think he was last year. And I would go back to what happened after game 1 to show that maybe the coaching and the preparation has been the huge problem, and that when you look at what Wayne Bennett was able to do with them last year, that it's not so much about the tactics and the game plan, it's about just bringing them together as quickly as possible and getting them to play out of their skin.
I think the other crucial thing to point out about last year's series, and Kenny, you did it on Monday night, the Blues didn't have Latrell Mitchell and they didn't have Tommy Turbo, and they've been 2 of the best players this series. But to the point that you raised,
they lost Teddy.
Correct. The point that you raised in relation to the game plan, Lara, and the coaching scenario for the Maroons at the moment, there's some fractures there. There's clearly some cracks, and they're only going to get wider until they can win a game. So there's that much heat on Paul Green for this game 3. And I know Bruce Hatcher's come out and said he's got support. We're not even thinking about it. But of course they're going to. He's signed on a 12-month contract. They need to win at State of Origin.
But when you say there's splinters, like what? There's people already that are off him in the camp.
Well, yeah, that's what I've heard. You would have heard similar things, or?
Yeah, I haven't heard directly if there's certain players, but they seem to be. If they're calling out the game plan after a game or during a game, that it's not coming together. I haven't heard Paul Green as such, but it would seem that they're not on the same page.
Emotionally, they haven't been there.
No.
Queensland, and that's what Queensland's always been so good at, is emotionally getting into the game.
Yeah.
And even when they didn't have the talent, emotionally they were revving at a level.
Was there, and it was just never there, even from the first set in Townsville.
Yeah, it was there for about 10 minutes on.
There was an intensity there, but it fell apart.
And they couldn't maintain it. Yeah. But other than that, you haven't seen Origin efforts out of Queensland.
DCE nearly fell on his own sword in that interview after the game when he said they were more motivated than us. You can't try and sell that.
It's State of Origin.
They're all professional. It's the jewel in the crown. It's the pinnacle of the sport. If you can't get up for that, what are they doing?
So where will Game 3 be? The RLPA, they want to take it to more regional areas like Mudgee, Dubbo, Tamworth, Clint Newton. He's tossing up those, but he also wants a pay rise.
Yeah, look, I think Clint's probably best being quiet at the moment. Look,
what's happened?
How are you and Clint at the moment?
We agree to disagree on many things. But look, Clint's come out and said they should take it to regional New South Wales. I get the thinking behind that, but there's not a lot of common sense to it, to be honest.
Why?
Why? Because, Vonnie, they're not big enough stadiums. We are in a
but we can't
period
have crowds
of the game
at this point.
We can't have... Yeah, well, that's why I think we should take it to Queensland.
Why is that?
Because I think this is
To
my
rub
idea.
salt into the
Look
wound.
how joyful your
rub
face
salt.
is.
I think
kill them 3-0 on
for
their
one, you
own
go back
turf.
and you play at Suncorp, you get 55,000. You will not get 55,000 in a stadium in New South Wales, okay? So you go back to Suncorp, you get 55,000, and the importance of that revenue is important to the game, given the current state the game is in with all this COVID stuff and all the money that's being lost with no crowds this weekend when they play, etc., etc.
What's the real reason?
The real reason,
You sicko.
the real reason is I think if New South Wales could win 3-0 with all 3 games in Queensland, they would have something you could never take away. It will never happen again where you have all 3 games in the one state. And for the visiting state to win all 3, can you imagine the bragging rights the Blues would have?
Yeah.
And you get, there's no comeback for Queensland.
There's absolutely no
Because
comeback.
they'll never repeat.
I can imagine you with the shield up Caxton Street.
We've started the plan. The route's going to go up Caxton Street, down past Gordon's place. So that's I think
You
that's
need
where
to
we're
get
going
on
to
the
go.
phone to Dave Trodden.
I like the idea. And look, Clint coming out saying that they want more money. It's really irresponsible. Yep. The fact is, businesses are closing down around the state. Yep. They've already been paid $15,000 a game. There's no crowds this weekend. Clubs are bleeding. The NRL is going to have to compensate them this weekend. Yep. To come out now and say you want to go back to full pay, I just think is the wrong. And yet, fair dinkum, where were you when the players are breaching COVID rules?
Yeah.
So what did he come out and say after Canterbury or Josh Dugan?
Yeah. Which
Nothing. Absolute cricket
Cool.
from the players. So there you go. So that's my rant for the week.
I love it, Kenty.